All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. Now, as I always do when I am in this particular environment, let me just say, this is not my normal setup, okay? I have a studio, I am on the road, and yet still creating content. So if you like this particular content, subscribe and ring the bell. But first, I want to say something here, okay? What do you think we're going to talk about today? Because there have been some big developments in the last 24 hours. I didn't post a video yesterday, and everything was just coming out like boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, all right. So what do we need to talk about? We need to talk about Dustin, Gaethje, and Michael Chandler. We need to talk about Kamaru, Usman, and Jorge Masvidal, and the opening of the world, full crowd for that event. And best of all, though, I think we need to talk about me being right all the time. And we're going to go ahead and prove that right now, because you guys remember about 2-3 weeks ago when Jorge Masvidal and Kamaru Usman looked like on Twitter, they were like, oh, the fight's off. Remember, Kamaru Usman was like, I'm not feeling generous anymore. And then Jorge was like, oh, you're a little punk, you won't take the fight. And every single analyst was like, oh man, I guess the Usman and Jorge Masvidal fight is off. And then I want to show you what my response to that was. Okay, ready? Watch. I want to talk about Jorge Masvidal and Kamaru Usman real quick, okay? Because everybody is acting like this fight is off. Like the fight's off. What's going on? I really thought we were going to get that fight. Jeez. And come on. And it's like, okay, wait, why do you guys think it's off? It's like, well, Kamaru Usman, he went on Twitter and he said he's not feeling generous anymore. And then Jorge Masvidal responded and said, see, when you want us, I wanted to get a full fight camp and you wouldn't do it. So you're a little baby, Kamaru. I guess that means the fight's off. And I'm like, is this your first minute watching UFC? That in no way indicates the fight's off, okay? I'm not feeling that generous, and Jorge says, yeah, he's a punk. Oh, fight's off. Fight's off. Fight's off. I guess it's not happening. Just, it's over, okay? Grow up, okay? Grow up. This is the game, okay? Maybe the first offer that Kamaru got, he was like, oh yeah. He's like, I'm not feeling that generous anymore, I'm not gonna fight this guy just for this amount of money. He could have been directing that at the UFC. And then Jorge just responds on, they're on Twitter, dude. Do you understand the moving parts here? Okay, UFC makes an offer, the guy sees it and goes, when you're the champion, you have a lot of leverage, so you can say things like that. You're like, I don't know. In all honesty, this offer doesn't really move me. I would love to do the Jorge Masvidal fight, because you got to understand, okay, let me actually rewind, okay? What you have to understand about this particular situation is that everyone involved wants this fight to happen. Everyone. Every single person involved, including UFC as an organization, okay? Ooh, I told you, there is one part of this game that I am never wrong about. I don't care. You can put me up against any channel on the internet. I am always right when it comes to predicting what fights are going to get made and why. Always. Because I understand people, and I understand incentives, and I understand business, okay? So I'm never wrong about that. Never. And you want to know why that's important for us to talk about today? Because we're going to talk about the Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal fight and everything opening up, and the fact that Rose Namajunas and Wei Li is also on that fight card. Jessica Andrade and Valentina Shevchenko, all huge. But what we're really going to talk about is, now that I've established that my credibility is utterly bulletproof when it comes to predicting what's going on, as I have many other times on this channel, many other times, when it comes to what fights are going to get made and why, just straight up, I am always right about this stuff, always. So now that I've established that, while everyone else said that fight was going to be off, and I said, nah, here's what else I'm going to tell you, okay? Why is that important right now? Because I'm going to tell you what else is going on. Now, why is Habib still holding the belt? Habib says he's retired, right? He's done. And everybody's like, why is he still sitting on top of the, not only the lightweight rankings, but also the pound for pound rankings, and he also still holds the belt at lightweight, okay? Here's something that you guys need to understand. You can't just have a guy who's retired holding the belt, because whoever has the belt gets a back end on the pay-per-view. We talked about this a million times. So you can't just have someone holding the belt and not give anyone else the opportunity to win it if they're not going to fight. You can't do that, okay? So why is Habib still holding the belt? And why is he still in the USADA testing pool? Ever ask yourself that? Because there are no fights for him. Answer: because if Conor beats Dustin, that is the fight that Dana is going to do everything in his power to make. The reason that Habib still holds the belt is in case Conor beats Dustin, so that Dana can still try to make the Conor and Habib fight, because it'll be the biggest fight in UFC history. Understand incentives and you will understand what's going on, okay? Just because Habib says he's retired, he's not going to force the UFC to strip him of his belt, right? And also, why is he still in USADA? Okay, he still has one foot in the door. No matter what he says, until he stops getting tested, still got one foot in the door. But the reason for that, I will guarantee you, from Dana's side, is because he still wants to make that Conor rematch, because he knows how huge of a fight it'll be. Now, can Conor beat Dustin? it's a tall order, man. Dustin's a beast, and he obviously just knocked him out for the first time ever. So we'll see. But that, for sure, is why Habib is still holding the belt. Now, is it possible if Michael Chandler dirt naps Justin Gaethje that maybe Habib comes back and fights Michael Chandler? Maybe. But the reason why Dana has him still holding the belt 100% is because of the Conor fight, the potential Conor fight. I would bet my life on that. I would let you chop my hand off if I'm wrong about that, okay? Because I'm not. But anyway, let's talk about Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal. I mean, but let me just do this for a second. Oh, if you can't tell, that's me showboating, because I'm always right, always. But it wasn't that hard to call, right? Like, it's one of those things that's really funny, like, when stocks explode and people go, man, that was really obvious in hindsight. Or like now everyone's gonna be like, oh, I guess that was pretty obvious in hindsight. Well, I didn't hear anyone else saying it, at the time. Everyone else was like, oh, I guess it's off. So, I guess, I don't know what that means, except that I told you so. But how is this fight going to go? I'm going to have to agree with the Weasel on this one, and I don't like doing it because I love Masvidal. Let me just, listen, I have nothing but respect for Kamaru Usman, and there's no way I'm picking against him in this fight, because I think a person who picks against Kamaru Usman in this fight is crazy, right? Because you think about it like this, man. Kamaru Usman can win on his feet now, right? Hey, seriously, he could win on his feet. He can potentially beat Jorge Masvidal on his feet. Gilbert Burns is no less dangerous than Jorge Masvidal on his feet. And Kamaru Usman stood with him and knocked him out. I mean, seriously. Now, I realize Jorge Masvidal, I don't believe, has been knocked out. Certainly not in the modern age. I haven't gone back to like this, those early fights. But in his current run, at least in the last, 6-7 years, he has not been knocked out. So it would be a tall order to knock him out. Gilbert Burns had not been knocked out at 170, but he'd been knocked out before at 155. So who knows how that translates. But the bottom line is Kamaru Usman can beat Jorge on his feet, and he definitely, and Jorge Masvidal can't beat Usman on the ground, right? That's why the Gilbert Burns fight was so interesting to me, and why I picked Gilbert Burns, and took so much shit about it. It's unbelievable. But the reason why I took Gilbert Burns, because I was like, I don't think Kamaru's going to beat him on the ground. So I think he's going to be trapped on his feet with him. And in my estimation, Gilbert Burns' explosiveness was going to overwhelm Kamaru. I just didn't realize how good Kamaru was on his feet. Now, anyway, it's neither here nor there. But with Masvidal, he doesn't have that ground game threat. So if he starts to get the better of Kamaru could just take it to the ground like he did in the first fight. So you really got to ask yourself, like Jorge's going to have to do something extraordinary to win that fight. Now, it doesn't mean he can't. He is a guy that can do that. And the other thing, too, is Jorge has felt what Usman has. Now, that's one thing that people are discounting here, is that they're like, well, everyone saw how that fight went, blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. There is a huge benefit to feeling what another guy has and then knowing what you're going in up against. Like, it's not a mystery. Jorge Masvidal has felt how strong Kamaru Usman is. So he will be able to make adjustments. I don't see him beating him. I don't see it. I don't see him. Outside of some crazy thing, like some crazy, like, catch him with a flying knee or some kind of crazy stuff like that. I don't know. It's hard for me to see. And the reason I say this is because we've seen Kamaru take shots now and take heavy shots. So his chin is rock solid. When you know that, you're like, God, man, how does this guy get beat? Like, seriously, how does he get beat? So, yeah, I think it's going to do enormous pay-per-views. I think it's going to be really exciting. Now, let's talk about Geichi and Chandler also. That's an incredible fight. I think it's not going to take a rocket scientist to break this fight down, right? If they stand on their feet and they bang, I think it favors Gaethje. If it goes to the ground, it tremendously favors Chandler, right? But Chandler's explosive on his feet too. I don't think anybody can confidently pick this fight right now. Not just because now that you've seen a person who has a vicious ground game, what it'll be like if Gaethje gets put on his back. That is a tremendous weakness. Now, the only person that's ever put him on his back is Khabib, so it's to assume that someone else is going to be able to do it, given the arsenal of terror that Gaethje holds on his feet that you're going to have to get through in order to get a hold of him and then somehow take him down. It's not like a foregone conclusion that Chandler's going to be able to get him down, even with Chandler's wrestling pedigree. But yeah, I would say it's 60-40 on the feet for Gaethje, and it's 90-10 on the ground if Chandler gets him down on his back. At the same time, we've never seen Gaethje try to put someone on their back, right? And I would imagine that would be a nightmare for Chandler as well. I mean, can you imagine Gaethje raining down? I mean, it's just not a part of his game that he's ever displayed. But now, after he got exposed with Habib on his, they're going to have to make adjustments, right? He's going to have to make adjustments because now everyone's going to try to take him to the ground. But man, you're going to have to take some punishment to get it there, man. Even Khabib, his leg, I can promise you, he was not walking on that thing regular the next day. But yeah, that's exciting. I mean, if Chandler beats Geichi in highlight fashion, it is possible that Habib fights him. I mean, if everybody really believes that Habib's not in the mix, I will challenge you on it because he's still in the USADA testing pool. Okay, he's still in the USADA testing pool. It just is what it is, man. Until he stops testing, he's still in the mix. But yeah, I mean, I don't need to break down Rose and Wei Li because the Weasel did an exceptional breakdown that I'm not going to be able to do a better job than. I'll just say I'm very excited for that fight. I love Rose Namajunas. She's like, there will never be a female fighter that I'll root for more passionately than her. I love her. Like, she's amazing. She's an amazing person. She's a good person. She's impossible not to root for. If you've never watched the Mixed Molly Wapri documentary about her and Pat Barry, get on it fucking immediately. Anyway, that's what I got. Mostly I just wanted to gloat. So that's what I did. And hopefully you guys enjoyed my gloating, son. Or more, maybe if you didn't know, maybe you're just more impressed. Like, damn, he called that shit 3 weeks ago. What a bowels. Is he really always do that? Is it really that consistent? So, you know, if you're one of my regulars, how about in the comments, you let him know how consistent that is. That I'm always right when it comes to predicting who's going to fight who and predicting how that's going to play out. Because I'm always right. I'm literally always right. So, anyway, if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell.